Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's Friday today, and I want to wrap up the series on jars that we've been doing as a result of the sermon that we preached in church the other day. We've looked at a number of the different jars simply as a picture, as an object lesson for us. But the last one for me is the most spectacular of all. You'll find the story in Matthew chapter 25 of the woman who came into Jesus that night in the presence of the disciples, and she took a jar of very potent, very special, very expensive ointment. She broke that bottle and she poured it all over Jesus. This is one of the most extravagant acts of love on behalf of Jesus that you will ever read about. She was a sinful woman. She had a reputation. And yet she came into the presence of Jesus, despite the presence of all the men that were there, to make her great sacrifice. And she did this because she really loved him. Now, this is the sacrifice of love. We've done the sacrifice of hope, the jar of hope. We've done the one of faith. But now we're talking about the big one, which is the jar of love. That when we're willing to break that jar and pour the contents onto Jesus in one big go, total sacrifice, you want nothing back other than to tell Jesus how much you love him. And I look at this and I think, well, the disciples weren't very approving of that, were they? They said to Jesus, Jesus, don't you know who this woman is? She's a sinner. Jesus, you obviously don't know stuff around you. We need to inform you. Jesus would have smiled and said, I know exactly who she is. I know exactly what she has done. And I am now ready to receive the gift that she has to give to me. It's prophetic of that which was still to come. In the next few hours of Jesus' life, he would be betrayed and would ultimately be hanging upon a cross. Within a day or so, he would be hanging on the cross. And so Jesus understood the heart of this woman whose sacrifice was extreme. But here's the thing. Extreme sacrifice leaves a legacy. When Jesus spoke of this woman and the disciples all said to her, this wasn't the best thing that she could have done. We could have done better with this. We could have sold it and given the money to the poor. And I just love the phrase that we use quite often is that it could have been done better. It could certainly may not have been the best thing to do with that jar of ointment. But man, Jesus said, this is beautiful. And it's an act of extravagant love toward me simply because she loved me. Jesus said that she will continue, the story of her life will continue for generations to come because of this great act of sacrificial love toward me. Now I want to ask you today, sacrifice is not very popular word, is it? Nobody wants to make sacrifices, certainly not as that extreme. But I would invite you today to contemplate your sacrifice toward God, to be done willingly, to be done because simply no other reason other than you want to express your love for him. This is the sacrifice that Jesus looks at and says, now that sacrifice really gets my attention. It's extravagant, it's personal, and it's real. You will have to work out what that sacrifice looked like. For this woman, it was a jar of very expensive ointment. It might be something else for you. But let's think about that, and then let's be courageous and in love with Jesus enough to make that sacrifice on his behalf. I'm looking at this, looking at what I can do. I hope you are as well. But we'll continue in our series next week. But you have a good weekend in the meanwhile. Bye-bye.